Okay, so I just watched the Bruce Jenner interview, and I guess that is kind of a jumping off point for this video. Who knows if it will become more than one video? God forbid I get everything I have to say out in one video, right? I am a long-winded fuck, so um, since childhood, I guess gender has been something that, like, especially in a black family, you just don't question. Like, I was raised as a girl, and I was socialized as a girl. Frilly dresses, like Sunday dresses, your Sunday best, but the nice dress that you couldn't get dirty. I ran around in dresses, and I had my hair long in braids. Um, the first time I cut it all off, actually, in like middle school or high school, like cut it almost all the way off. Like, this is grown out. Before I moved to Japan, I shaved my whole head after I had braids down to my butt, past my butt. And growing up, it was never a question of are you female? It was you are female. End of sentence. There was never anything else that I could be. But I could be an athlete. I was always an athlete. I have been doing sports since I was a little kid, you know? Volleyball, swimming, basketball. I played soccer in middle school. I got into water polo in high school. And it's actually kind of water polo that was this jumping off point. Like, I remember, I think it was, God, I can't remember if I was in middle school or in high school, but I was riding my scooter. So I think it was probably middle school. I was riding my scooter back when the Razor scooters were really popular, down the street up to my house, and I had on my helmet, and these two girls were standing off to the side, and they saw me scooter past, and I can hear them talking. God, my whole life people have been talking about me like I am not there, and I can hear them, you know, I'm not fucking deaf. I can hear you. And they said, "Is that a girl?" And I'm wearing like these long baggy jeans that I had adopted as my style in high school, and a t-shirt. And I've got like sizable breasts, you know, and I'm wearing a tight t-shirt. I live in LA in the middle of summer. God, how was I even wearing jeans? But I'm wearing jeans, and I'm riding on my scooter, and I hear them say, "Is that a girl?" And I have braids, like I have hair, and they still ask this question. And I remember being so upset. Oh, God. I got home, and I went up to my room, and I cried, and I cried. Like, how could they think that I was anything but a girl, you know? Like, that's what I was raised as. Of course I'm a girl. Obviously I'm a girl. I can't be anything other than a girl. How could you think that? And, you know, I can't let my parents know about this interaction. And so I suck it up, and I pretend like it never happened, and I move on. But as I get into water polo, it's the first time I cut off all my hair, and it happens again. I was playing for this club team, and it was a co-ed team, and we were playing a boys versus girls match, a boys versus girls match. And, you know, not only am I wearing a bathing suit, like a full-on one-piece suit that zips up in the back, because that's what a water polo suit is, and the boys are all wearing Speedos, you have on the little caps that, like, protect your ears. And nobody passes to me, like, the whole game. And I couldn't figure out why. I'm a good player. I had demonstrated my skill as a water polo player, and as an athlete, I could not understand why nobody was passing me the goddamn ball. Like I didn't get it. It was so frustrating and so oh, nerve wracking that I could not even comprehend, like, from a sports level, why nobody was passing to me. It didn't take it down to the gender level until later that night after everybody got out of the pool, and I get out of the pool and everybody realizes, they're like, oh, she's a girl. And I was just so upset in that moment that, like, the fact that somebody couldn't tell whether I was a boy or a girl was the reason that I had no opportunity to participate in this sport that was a really huge part of my life for a long time. You know, all of your high school career and part of your freshman year of college is a pretty significant time of your life when you're 22. I guess in 20 years it's gonna just be a blip, but for now it's still a big part of my life, and I was so hurt, and I was so hurt that when my dad came and got me from the end of the practice session, I'm like in tears in his car telling him, Daddy, nobody would pass to me because they thought I was a boy. And it was just so painful. And at that point, I still had like no kind of I guess recognition or idea of what it meant to not fit into the gender binary. Um, God, it wasn't until like high school, I was the president of our school's GSA, with some fantastic people who just made my life so much better. And I'm so happy that they existed. There was a period in my life where um, I would bring ace bandages to school, and obviously, like without my parents' knowledge, um, like if you throw it in your sports bag, nobody's gonna think twice about the fact that you've got ace bandages. You know, like what's the big fucking deal? You're an athlete with ace bandages. And then I would get to school because I would always get to school early because I went to school so far away. And I would go into the bathroom in the locker room and I would bind my chest. And then I put on my shirt and I went about my day. And I remember the shirt that I wore when one of my friends from the GSA commented on it. It was this like light green top with yellow piping, and it was like a baby doll t-shirt that had these two pockets in the front, and it was hella cute, and I'm really sad that I don't know what happened to it, just so we're clear. But you could see the top of the ace bandage from how low the armpits sat in the shirt, and it was a strap or a sleeveless shirt. And God, we were in the library like laughing really hard about something, and I like am struggling to breathe because I'm laughing so hard. And when your chest is all bound up and you're already an asthma kid, it's really difficult to breathe. And so I was like, God, it's hard to breathe. And Katie, she says, well, sometimes it's difficult. And I can't remember exactly what she says, but she said, like, oh, well, that can be difficult when you're bound or when you have an ace bandage or something like that. But she says something to the effect of, it's difficult and I can see that, like, there can be a struggle there. And we didn't have to talk about it again. Like, that was it. And it was just a moment where I felt so free. And that was so nice. And I mean, by this point, I'm like a junior in high school, and so I think I know everything. And so I know about what it means to be transgender, and I have started to kind of think about this um, because I had already like accepted the fact that I was bisexual, and but God forbid I come out to my parents. No, 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 didn't happen. Wasn't a thing. Not until I got to college. Um, but I had accepted being bisexual to myself and like to my friends, and this part of me was just so nagging that something was not right, and I couldn't figure out what. And it wasn't my gender identity, or it wasn't my sexuality. And I knew, or I thought, I wasn't a boy, so it couldn't be gender. And it caused me a great deal of anxiety. It causes me a great deal of anxiety and stress and depression. I struggle with these things on a daily basis, like regardless of my gender. And when I'm stressed about my gender as well, then it's sort of this clusterfuck of like double the depression and double the anxiety, because I am just freaking out in my head and I have no way of expressing it because something is different up here that doesn't translate physically. So I have to deal with constantly people talking about me a certain way that doesn't fit this way that I perceive myself, and I constantly feel like I'm drowning. And I was so happy when I got to college because I went to like this hippy dippy liberal arts school, and I got to explore gender identity. I went to this multicultural program before my freshman year started, and we got to talk about gender, and I got to learn that not only was it something that people really struggled with, but that like the confusion and the depression and the anxiety and all of the stress like was real and was valid. And I struggled with that by myself for most of freshman year. And it wasn't until like the end of freshman year that I finally gathered the courage to like really start to think about my gender identity as a person. And I told all of my close group of friends that I was trans because I thought that, you know, if I wasn't on this one part of the gender binary, I had to be on the other part. So if I wasn't female, then I had to be male. And I told all my friends to call me Lonnie, and I asked to use he and him pronouns, and then I emailed my teachers, and it was a process of like coming out inside this small group network of my university. And you know, everybody was really supportive. God, except for this one kid. I took a dialogue class, um, and this kid was such an ass. And like, I understand that he was dealing with his own shit, but like, that does not excuse being an asshole. Like, I understand when you're going through your own shit, but if you're gonna be an asshole, you're being an asshole, and I reserve the right to call you out on that. Um, and God, I love dresses. I love dresses a lot. They're hella cute, they hella fit me, and they make me feel hella good. And after having a lot of struggles with my body and feeling really fat and growing up as the big kid, you know, and feeling this pressure to drop a lot of weight because I wanted to be pretty or whatever so that I could fit this standard of beauty that I felt like existed inside of my family. Because my mom is tall and skinny and pretty, and my aunt is tall and skinny and pretty, and they all did modeling, and my grandma, she's not tall, but she's skinny and pretty, and my cousin is skinny and pretty. And so I felt so left out because I wasn't skinny and pretty. And for a really long time, I felt really, really ugly and fat. And I felt like wearing dresses and getting thin and getting fit like validated this femininity. And then even when I didn't feel feminine, God, I had worked so hard to feel good in dresses. Like, damned if I wasn't gonna damned if I was gonna let somebody else try to invalidate my gender because I felt good in a fucking dress. Like, fuck you. You have no idea how long it took me to get comfortable in this dress. Like, go to hell. He told me that he didn't see me as male because I wore dresses. And that was something that he couldn't get past. And then we had to work together on a group project, and he called me out in like this really shitty way for doing something really shitty, like because I told him that I felt uncomfortable with something that he said, and then he went off on this tyrant, and I had to like walk away. I couldn't work on the group project for like the next week because I was so emotionally upset to see him. Whoa, like, ugh. Okay, anyway. I don't have an editing software. I wonder how I'm going to do this. I guess we'll figure this out. This is already 16 minutes long. But, so anyway, I'm in college and I'm identifying as male. I'm also working with this volunteer organization called Vote for Equality. And, you know, when we go, everybody gives their name and their gender identity and their preferred gender pronouns. And it was the first place that I encountered that had a gender neutral restroom. And that concept for me was so earth shattering. Like, I don't think I even told anybody how amazing and fantastic and world changing that was for me. And I used it every time without hesitation. Like, that was the bathroom that I used. And I didn't think about the implications of it. I just went to the fucking bathroom and it wasn't a big deal. Except for this one time I was in the bathroom and somebody says to me, oh, "You're a girl." And I said, oh, "No, I'm not." And then that was the end of the interaction. Like, it was just that simple. And then they were like, "Oh, okay." And then we went about our business and then left the bathroom and nobody was hurt and nobody died and nobody had to call the cops and like nobody's head exploded. I just went to the bathroom and then I went out, I washed my hands. "You're a girl." "No, I'm not." "Okay." Done. Like, so fucking simple. And for a while I went and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Patricia. I'm a girl. She, her," or no, I used to say feminine pronouns or female pronouns. And then I learned that some people identify as female without wanting to use she and her pronouns. Like, that's cool, whatever you want to do. And so I started saying she and her pronouns and not male or female pronouns. And then there was like a small period where I went through using they and them pronouns. But that only lasted for like a month or so because I was like feeling my way into living my life as male. And then I started going by he and him pronouns, and that was just peachy for a couple of years actually. I met a couple of really, really good friends who really helped me through a period of a lot of confusion and depression and self-harm issues regarding my gender identity. And it was just so nice to have this space where I felt like I could be confused as all hell and still be loved. And I felt so blessed to work for and volunteer with them. God, it was so nice. And there were a few people who transitioned and a few people who like transitioned back. But I think all in the process of like figuring out who you are, like there's no wrong way to identify. If that's how you feel in the moment, then that's who you are in that moment. And a couple of people have told me that recently, and I really have been resonating with that, and that is really important with me right now because after college, or still in college, I guess, in my senior year, um, who I thought was my best friend in school, did this really weird thing where she like moved out of our house. Granted, I wasn't there that much in the first semester due to a lot of personal crap that happened, and I had to move back home for my second semester of my senior year of college. And at home, living in a family where my mom, when I came out to her as bisexual, told me, "Do you think God is happy or sad with your choice, or do you think he doesn't care?" Was tough. I knew they weren't going to call me Lonnie. I knew they weren't going to be down with the he, him pronouns. I knew. And it was just not worth the struggle. God, it was not worth the struggle. I've written quite a few slam poetry pieces about my gender, and especially how my gender relates to my relationship with my mother. And it's never positive. And I felt like it would be easier to just go back to living as a girl, a woman, I guess. I'm a fucking grown up. I thought it would be easier to go back as living as a woman and not having to struggle with all of this crap than it would to, I guess, feel like I'm living this double life. So during my second semester senior year, I started going by Patricia again. Let all my teachers know. I told all the people on my slam team. I don't know. I felt like I gave up. Like I felt like I went back into the closet. But for a while, for like 4 or 5 months, and then after I graduated, and I met people, and like, I don't know, was trying to make friends after college and all that crap. I thought I was perfectly fine with being Patricia. I thought that was something that I could do. I thought that was something I could handle. Until I couldn't. And I felt so broken inside. Like, there's this feeling that happens when you're not being all of who you are and who you can be, that makes every single breath you take so exhausting. And everything that you do takes up a lot of energy, and everything that you do hurts. And I hurt so badly for so long, and I couldn't understand it. I was like, why do I hurt? Why do I hurt so bad? And I had shoved this gender thing back into the closet, and convinced myself that it didn't exist. Like that was just the only option. I was Patricia. I'm a girl. That was what I was taught at home, and since I was living at home, that was how it had to be. And it wasn't until my best friend introduced me to this lovely family that I started to feel like I could express myself again. They have a trans daughter, and my best friend called me and said, "So I know that this is something that you have dealt with before, and I was wondering if you might have any advice or be able to help or do something. And I was so honored that she would ask me that. And So we went over for her mom's birthday, and it was cute, it was nice, it was fun. And this kid, this little girl, she is so cute. We were talking and playing, you know, and she's sitting on top of her bed, and she looks me dead in the eye and says, "I used to be a boy." And I look at her, right back at her, and I say, "That's cool. So did I." And that was the end of the conversation, you know? And it's just that easy with kids. And then she asked me, "Oh, so were you always a boy?" And I said, "No, I was born a girl, and then I was a boy. But now I'm a girl again." And that was okay. There didn't have to be anything else. And I think that was like the moment where I felt so free to be myself. And that was when I really realized that kids can be just this beacon of hope for people, because they want to like you and they want to be happy. And it's only as we grow up that we realize that people are so cruel. And that's so poisonous. Like, if I hadn't grown up in such a toxic environment, like would I be so hurt and so confused over this? Like, would I be shedding tears over this? Would I have to make this video? Who knows? I don't think so. But, you know, we're not there. So here I am. And I got in more contact with this little girl's mom, and we've been friends ever since I moved to Japan and all that. I literally moved 5,000 miles away from my gender problems. They followed me. Funny enough, gender is in your head, not in your parents, in your house, in your parents' room. Who'd have thunk? And since being here, she's been just this godsend of weight lifted off of my shoulders. When I am sleepless at 2 in the morning, it's 10 a.m. in LA, and she's awake, and I can message her and be like, "I'm feeling like my gender identity is really invalid. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Am I making this up because I'm lonely and I'm desperate for something to talk about or something to do here? What's going on? My gender identity is so strange. I don't get it." Bah. And every time I start to feel doubt or some kind of discomfort, she is right there. And she always knows just what I need to hear. But not in an "I'm telling you what you need to hear" way, but in a "this is what I really, really and truly believe for you, and I want the best for you, so this is how I'm going to express what I need to say to best support you" kind of way. It's so great. And I don't know how to express my gratitude for this woman. I don't know. Thank you. Anyway, I guess, where did I leave off anyway? I was a woman, then I was a man, then I was a woman again. Oh, that looks kind of nice. And then I realized if I didn't fit as a woman, but I also feel like I don't fit as a man, I started to explore the middle ground. Because what's in between a binary is the liminal space, and all of what exists in between it, and every single identity that exists inside of this liminal space is so beautiful and so complicated, but so simple. And it's so great. God, I have never felt so alive as discovering living in the non-binary spectrum. But not only that, I started looking up what it meant to be agender, because sure, I love dresses. And sure, I love pants. I like long hair. I like short hair. Some days I go out with a face full of makeup and I look hella cute. And most days I wear zilch and I'm hella cute. And I take a lot of selfies and I look good. And I like to pose and make funny faces and wear skirts. And that doesn't make me feminine. I am so tired of the standard for androgyny being white, skinny male. Like, since when was masculinity androgynous? That's a whole different conversation. But I think especially growing up black, there's this idea that I have to be hyper feminine because black women are often hypersexualized or hyper masculinized. And I so don't fit into either of those things. I was socialized to be hyper feminine. But I'm not. I don't feel that way. I do it to play a role, and sometimes I do it because I feel cute. But I don't, like, it doesn't fit. Like, I'm so good at putting it on. You know, I get dressed up, you put on the bra, you, like, pull your tits up, and you put on a tight dress, and you prance around, and you drink frizzy drinks that are pink, and your favorite color is pink, and you walk around, and you're super ditzy, and you have a face full of makeup, and it's super cute. I'm like, sure, I can dress up, I can play that role. I don't mind it, it's fun sometimes. But I also like to play the, like, spread leg, I don't like beer because beer tastes like horse piss, but, like, let's have a beer and watch the game, you know? Like, but who says those traits are intrinsically feminine and masculine, respectively? Like, these are just parts of what make me who I am. And I don't understand why there is a gender assigned to it. I don't resonate with a gender. I can play on these gender roles, but I don't feel like assigning myself a gender. I am genderless selfie queen. I don't know. I mean, that's who I really am. And after watching the Bruce Jenner interview and crying excessively, because so much of what he said resonates with how I feel in my life, about not really having a place to fit in, and about not knowing, like, and not wanting to hurt your family. I don't want to hurt my family. You know, they raised me. That's my family. And sure, they haven't been the perfect family, but that's the only one I've got. And people talk about chosen family all the time, and I've got a great chosen family. God, I have the best support system. But, you know, I came from my biological family, and I want them to love me and to accept me for who I am, genderless and all. I would just be so wrecked if I didn't have them. And I think part of, like, the hardest part is I've always been daddy's little girl. Always. Like, that's me, you know? Being my dad. It's fucking it, man, you know? Like, that's my dad. Like, I've got a little brother, but no, that's my dad. I'm his favorite. We make jokes about it, but, like, it's my daddy. And I'm so afraid to not be his little girl anymore. Like, what will that do to him? To tell him I don't have a gender. I don't want to not be his little girl. But at the same time, there was this interesting moment where we had at VFV, I was volunteering Vote for Equality, and there's this fancy Friday because we were a casual establishment. So on Fridays we would get dressed up, And I put on a pair of khakis and a nice top that tucked in, and a tie. It just happened to be a Glee tie from Dalton Academy because I'm a nerd above all else. And I used to watch that show. Um, and he said, well, he helped me tie my tie. And he said, well, you're still my little girl, at least as far as I know. And I like freaked out internally, but I didn't say anything. And we haven't brought it up at all since. I don't even know if he remembers that conversation at all, but I do. And it was just that short, and I remember every second of it, you know? And it's like insane to me. Like, if I ever came out to him, would he just be like, you know? Like, how much of this is me blowing it out of proportion? And how much of this is me responding to my mother's criticism and the massive backlash I've seen on the internet of people of color who are coming out as anything but cisgender, anything but heterosexual. Like, people are dying, people are being murdered for their gender expression and gender identity, and it puts me in a place of, where does that leave me, you know? And here in Japan, at work, I go by my legal name, which is Patricia, and I wear a name tag that says Patricia, and every day, all day, I am Patricia, and I am a girl, and people tell me, well, you're a girl, so da 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 da, and every time they open their mouths to say it, there's just massive gender stereotyping that drives me nuts, and like, what am I supposed to do, you know? At what point do I reach a point where I've had enough? When do I come out? When do I start telling people? When do I come out to my family? What if I lose my family? That's my support system. Like, that's my financial support system, for one. But that's been my emotional support system here in a big way. Like, my relationship with my mom has been a lot better since I've been here. And I'm so scared to lose everyone. That's my family. And friends are great, and chosen family is great, but they're friends. And it's not to diminish that relationship with them at all. But when I got picked on in school, I went home to my family, and they made me feel like it was going to be okay. And when I felt bad about myself and my body, I went home to my family, and they told me that it was going to be okay. And granted, my mother didn't tell me it was going to be okay when I came out to her as bisexual. My dad did. He laughed at me, and he was like, you think I didn't already know? And, you know, like, they're there for you. And that's my family. And if I come out to them as agender and tell them men and teach them about they and them as pronouns and how it is grammatically correct, and people use the plural singular all the fucking time. Like, and if I explain that, like, and then I no longer have this family to come to, like, who do I come to for support when the people that I've come to for support are not there to support me? I'm so terrified of that. Like, I can't lose them. I can't lose them. What do I do without them? Like, they raised me. And I have caused so much anxiety, like, to the point that I don't sleep here anymore. I slept really well for the first, like, month and a half. because I was working every day and I didn't have a lot of extra time to think about all this extra stuff. But as soon as I realized that living on my own meant that I had all of this downtime to really think and be by myself and think about my gender and my gender expression, like, I have been restless and sleepless, and all I want is to be at peace with who I am and how I share that with the world. And I have no idea how I'm going to do that. This video ended up being 40 minutes long, and I haven't said nearly all of what I'm going to say. But what do you do?